I'm concerned. No, it really is. It's
What
not
about
a respected paper. Very liberal paper, by the way. I believe, and I've been winning in Iowa, and by the way, I have other polls in Iowa that say I am winning, just so you understand. This was 2 small polls. And all over the country, I'm winning by massive numbers. But I will say that I think I'm winning in Iowa. I think I'm doing really well with evangelicals, with Tea Party, with everything else, and we'll see what happens. But that was the only one where I have a slight not lead.
Some controversy over the weekend. Your Twitter account retweeted an unflattering tweet about the people of Iowa in response to that poll. You say that an intern actually is the one who retweeted it. Someone who claims to be a college student who works at your campaign headquarters said interns don't have access to your Twitter account. So did you send it, or did an intern send it?
I have 5 people, and they're very smart people. And it was actually a little bit of a joke. The person thought it was funny, and essentially saying that anybody that votes for Carson has to have a problem with their brain. That's what they said. They thought it was cute. I didn't think it was cute, and I took it off. It wasn't a big deal. Frankly, I probably would have been better off just leaving it there, but I didn't like it. I do my own, and just so you understand, I do my own tweets, 90%. But I have people, because I'm doing a lot of other things, I have people, Matt, that do things for me.
But it would surprise me in this day and age, and with you in the position you're in right now, that you would allow an intern to tweet something in your name without checking every single word that goes out.
Well, you know, I have thousands of employees that work for me. I have many, many people on the campaign, and these are very smart people. Thought it was cute. I actually probably should have just left it up. Nobody would have cared about it.
There's a report in the AP that's gotten some traction over the weekend, Mr. Trump, that says that there may be an organized effort among your rivals and others in the establishment of the Republican Party to take you down. A, do you think that that effort exists? And B, what would you do to fight against it?
Well, I don't know if it exists. It's possible that it exists. They probably should do it because, as you know, the poll just came out of New Hampshire where I'm at 38 to 12. I'm at 38, and Carson's at 12, and other guys are at 1, 2, 0. You have many people at 0. They have nothing.
You think they're banding together to take you down?
I think they probably will. They'll spend money. I'm not sure. I think people know me. I just went upstairs. You saw the crowd we have, always crowds. People know me. You know, I've been a very public figure for a long time. People are tired. They're sick and tired of the incompetence and the incompetent leaders that we have running our country. And I don't think it will work. And I will say this, Matt.
If you found out that those conversations were going on behind closed doors, would it make you reconsider your pledge on not running for a third-party nomination?
I don't think so, because if you look at it, that's probably politics, and they're, you know, very embarrassed. Look, Bush is very embarrassed. Carson's very embarrassed by what happened to him in New Hampshire, because he's getting killed in New Hampshire and plenty of other places. There are a lot of people that are very embarrassed, and what I did, you know, I'm self-funding my campaign, and I ended all PACs. I don't want any PACs. I don't want anything. And I'm asking people, I'll ask them on the show, but over the weekend I said everybody should disavow their PACs, because PACs are a swamp. The people that control the candidates are PACs.
Did you see 60 Minutes over the weekend? It was last night. Joe Biden was on.
I did not see.
He's someone you supported for his run in the Senate a while back. He said this about you, that he's disappointed in you. He said your attacks on immigrants are unhealthy and beneath this country, and he says he hopes you don't believe your own words. How would you respond to that?
So let me just tell you, man, very simple. And he was a nice guy. And as you know, I supported many people because I was a businessman. Somebody actually just the other day, a very big magazine, said a world-class businessman. It was and you know that because you've been dealing with me a long time, long before this. It was my obligation for my family, for my country, for everything to get along with everybody. So I got along with Biden. I got along with everybody, which is, by the way, what we need. But when it comes to illegal immigration, we have to stop it. Our country, people are pouring across our borders, and if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. We have to stop illegal immigration. In addition to bringing drugs and bringing lots of problems, tremendous amounts of crime, whether it's Kate in San Francisco or Jamil in Los Angeles or the woman the other day that just got raped by an illegal immigrant, a 66-year-old veteran, raped, sodomized, and killed.
But I just
Matt, we have to stop illegal immigration.
You stand by your words on illegal immigration, so you don't want to take any of those back. I went back and I read from your famous book, The Art of the Deal. You wrote this: I play to people's fantasies. I call it truthful hyperbole. It's an innocent form of exaggeration and a very effective form of promotion. Would it be fair to say that that describes your campaign to date? Innocent exaggeration and truthful hyperbole?
Look, there could be and could be not. I mean, look, I'm just telling the facts. The facts are we have a country that's going bad. We have 100 million people that are in a workforce that can't work. Our real unemployment number is probably 22 to 30%. We have nothing but problems. We make incompetent deals with Iran. That deal is the most incompetent deal I've ever seen. I'm not just talking about between countries. I've never seen a dumber contract in my life. Obamacare is a disaster. People's premiums are going up 55%. Their deductibles are so high that nobody's ever going to get to use it. We have a country that is in serious trouble, and I think that's why I'm leading in every poll, because I will solve the problem.
Let's go to Willie Geist.
Good to see you this morning.
Hi,
Welcome.
Willie.
We've got a bunch of questions for you. We're going to start with Caroline Levitt, 18-year-old college freshman up the road at St. Anselm. She's got a 10 o'clock Spanish class, so we're going to let her go first.
Absolutely.
Mr. Trump, as everyone knows, and as I personally appreciate, you're very honest and outspoken about a lot of different things. As my father would say, you call a spade a spade. However, many people criticize you for this, saying that you're merciless, ruthless, cold-hearted. What would you like to say to people who think you're too harsh to be the next president of the United States?
It's such a great question. And I had a woman the other day say, Mr. Trump, I love you, I'm voting for you, but are you a nice enough person to be president? I said, you know what? I really am a nice person. I give tremendous amounts of money away. I love to help people. I love people. And you see from upstairs how many people showed up to see me. It's not going to be, though, this time about niceness. It's going to be about competence. People are tired of stupid people running our country. And we have, believe me, stupid people. You look at our trade deals with China, our trade deals with Mexico, our border with Mexico, our deals with, as an example, Japan. They give us millions of cars. We get nothing from Japan. It's a one-way street. Brazil, there's not a country in the world that doesn't take advantage of us. You look at ISIS. We don't know what to do with ISIS. We don't know what to do with anything. So I really believe I'm a very nice person. I love people. This is going to be an election based on competence. People are tired of nice. They want competent people.
Back to the harsh thing. I got 3 kids, as you know. You know one of the biggest issues they talk about in school with my kids? Online bullying. And the things they put on social media. And you use words like loser and dumb, and you call out people for their physical characteristics, and we know what you've said about Megyn
Only when
Kelly.
I don't like them.
All right, well, do you think you're setting the right example as someone who's running for the highest office in the land for kids and their online behavior?
You know, I hope I am. I'm a leader. Every poll said that I'm the best leader by far of every candidate. In fact, I'm in the 70s and 80s on leadership. It's sort of interesting. CNN did a poll where the leadership is the highest. The military is the highest because they think I'm stronger than these other characters, and I am. The economics and the, all of the things, leading in every category. The one thing they said, is he a nice person? And I actually think I should be leading in that one also, to be honest with you, man.
Willie, let's go back to you.
All right, Donald, this is Roxanne McGaffigan, 38-year-old, married with 3 kids, registered Republican, leaning your way, but still undecided.
Come on, we have to get you our way. I want to see you. What are you doing after this? I want to talk to you.
What I would like to know is what efforts are you making to secure the female vote, and why should women be voting for you?
Okay, it's such a great question. Look, I have tremendous respect for women, and I am going to protect women. I'm going to protect the whole country, because our country needs protection. We don't have the right people protecting, and I even consider military protecting women and the country. But my wife and my daughter, Ivanka, who everybody respects, and women respect Ivanka so much, she just got a big award from Fortune as a Woman of the Year type thing, and she gave a whole forum. And women have, and perhaps you do too, she's an amazing young woman. She said, Dad, you respect and love women so much. Could you talk about it more? Because people don't really understand how you feel. And when Bush came out against funding women's health issues, I went wild. I said, that's not going to happen. I think my relationship with women in terms of this whole situation has been really good. I actually score very well in most of the polls with women. And, I just, it's hard to sort of prove it, but I do have my daughter and my wife said you have to talk more to women, because your relationship with women and the respect you have with women has to be out there. And I do have great respect for women, and I have respect for you.
You say you're doing well with women, but Friday night at one of your events, you admitted to your own supporters that you were having some trouble getting the support of women.
I said my support with men is through the roof. The support with women is a little bit less than the men. That's why Ivanka said to me, Dad, you have to go out and you have to talk about it, because there's nobody that's better to women. In the construction industry, I had a woman 35 years ago as my #1 person building Trump Tower. That was unheard of. 50% of my executives are women, and many of them make more than the men executives. So I've had that great relationship with women.
Willie.
All right, Mr. Trump, this is Donna Morris, 46 years old, married with 2 sons, independent voter, and the president of the Salem Chamber of Commerce.
Hi. Good morning.
Donna.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Before I came to the chamber world, I was raised as a military child, so I'm very concerned with national defense and the U.S.'s role on the world stage. How would you address the situation with ISIS?
I would build our military so strong and so good. You know, it's very much depleted. General Ordiano the other day when he's leaving, and he said our army is in the worst shape it's been, least prepared that it's been maybe since the beginning, but over the last 50 years. We can't have that. I would make our military so strong, so powerful, so everything that we'll never have to use it, but nobody's going to mess with us. With that being said, we have to do something about ISIS. I was against going into Iraq and very publicly against it because you destabilize the Middle East. But I will tell you, and very strongly, Don, and I think it's very important, when they start cutting off people's heads because they're Christian in the Middle East, all over the Middle East, what's happening there, it's like in the old days, I talk about medieval times, Matt, that the most vicious times, you know, where they chop heads. We are right now living in the most vicious times that anybody, they drown people in a cage, they chop off the heads. We have to stop it. And believe me, I'll find a General Patton, because we have great people. We use people that are politically correct all the time. We got rid of one of our best generals because he used foul language. And that's, you know, as to the other question, so important. We will stop ISIS. And by the way, if Russia wants to go into Syria and bomb the hell out of ISIS, I'm sort of okay with that.
Well, wait a second, but let me ask you, that you're saying no one will be tougher against ISIS than I'll be. I'll hit them so hard it'll make their head spin. But you're also saying, well, you know what, if Vladimir Putin wants to fight him, well, that's okay with me.
If he wants to fight him, and if he wants to... Look, we've spent $2 trillion in Iraq, thousands of lives, wounded warriors who I love all over the place, when you get down to Iraq. You look at Afghanistan, you look at all the money, we're spending trillions of dollars. We have to rebuild our country. If Putin wants to go and drop bombs on ISIS, I'm okay with it. But we have to do it too. We have to kill ISIS. Now, I said keep the oil. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq, but we got out the wrong way. When we left Iraq, I said keep the oil. You know who has the oil right now? Number one, Iran's going to have all of Iraq, but ISIS has the oil. ISIS is very rich.
So boots on the ground in Iraq,
I would
take
knock
over the oil
the hell
fields.
out of ISIS, and frankly, if Russia wants to do it also, I'm okay with it. But what I want to get to, I really want to do, I want to get back to rebuilding our country, Matt, because our infrastructure is dead. Our roads, you know it better than I do. Our airports, you travel all over the world. We see airports, both of us, many of the people in this room, that are so beautiful. Our airports are defunct.
Let me ask the room, how many people here, by your applause, would be in favor of large numbers of American forces back in Iraq to take over the oil fields to bring that money back to this country?
And by doing that, you're cutting off ISIS. By the way, that's their primary source of funding. Well, hey, that's what leadership is. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because I tell you, I do get a good response to that. By doing that, number one, you're cutting off their primary source of funds. ISIS is very rich. They're making $1 million every 2 or 3 hours, they say. You know, they make it from the oil. We should have kept the oil. I said, when we leave Iraq, keep the oil.
Willie.
And you wouldn't have ISIS if that happened.
More foreign policy, different part of the world. This is Maura Wentworth, 43-year-old, 2 kids, veterinary technician, a registered Republican, undecided.
Good morning, Mr. Trump. In terms of foreign policy, what would you do about Russia?
Well, Russia is a very interesting case. We have somebody that has no respect for our president whatsoever. He laughs at our president. He does things that he wants to do, whether it's in Syria, the Ukraine, anywhere you're talking about. I believe, and I may be wrong, but I was on 60 Minutes 2 weeks ago with Vladimir Putin, the two of us, and we got very high ratings, by the way, but I won't mention that. But he was my stablemate. He was my friend, my stablemate. I didn't meet him, but that's okay. I believe I would get along with Putin, and I think it's good if we can get along. And if I can't get along, I know people that will get along. But it won't be like it is right now. And as far as Ukraine's concerned, I agree it's horrible. But you know what? Germany's a very rich country, and so are many of the countries that surround it. And they should be more involved. It shouldn't always be us. We're over there talking about Ukraine. In the meantime, Germany's sending us their Mercedes-Benzes and everything else, and they're not doing anything. At some point, other people in other countries have to get involved. It can't always be the dummy United States led by people that are incompetent, that don't know what they're doing, because we have to rebuild our own country. It's time.
All right. Thank you for your questions in this section of our live town hall meeting with Donald Trump. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with much more from here in Atkinson, New Hampshire, including questions from our Trump Today hashtag. But first on a Monday morning, these messages in your local news. It's 8:30 on a Monday morning, the 26th day of October 2015. We're in New Hampshire, Pancakes and Politics, a live town hall meeting with the Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. We're going to get to many more questions from the people here at the Atkinson Resort and Country Club in 1 second. Let's get a quick check of the weather from Mr. Roker, who's back in New York. Al.
All right, thank you, Matt. As we take a look and show you what we've got going on. Right now, we look at basically some weather for your week ahead. We expect to see more wet weather from the southeast into the mid-Atlantic states and then Mississippi River Valley. Sunny skies out west. Then we're going to have some cooler weather along the eastern seaboard in the early week. But the west coast looks fairly warm around the Great Lakes as well. More rain in the eastern third of the country midweek. The wet weather extends into the Pacific Northwest. Sunshine through the plains. It stays warm in the east, but chillier conditions through the plains and on into the Pacific Northwest. And then the latter part of the week, we've got sunshine here in the east, some clouds around the plains, Great Lakes into the northeast, and more wet weather moving down into Texas and the Four Corners. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
On this Monday, we're starting out with sunshine. It will be filtered by some high clouds at times, especially further south of the city. More sun from the city on north, but a pleasant day. Chilly, 58, not bad, a little bit below normal. Tonight, mainly clear. A little frosty in the suburbs, north and west, 44 midtown, 30s in those burbs north and west of the city. And then tomorrow, sun early, clouds thickening up as we go through the day, but it remains dry. Not a bad day, near 60. Not so dry on Wednesday. Rain is likely. Could get steadier and heavier at times in the afternoon and at night. Leftover shower early Thursday, then clearing, then dry but chilly weather through the weekend.
Your latest weather. Now let's head back to New Hampshire and Mr. Lauer.
All right, Al, thank you very much. We promised people online they'd have a chance to ask Donald Trump some questions. Carson's in the orange room with some of those. Carson, which questions?
Good morning, guys. Want to mention that the hashtag Trump Today is officially trending on Twitter right now, which is great. Lots of questions from both Twitter and Facebook. Here's one from Mitch, Mr. Trump, saying, what do you think is the biggest misconception about Donald Trump?
Well, number one, it's my hair, okay? That's probably a misconception. You know that. You've known that for a long time. May not be pretty, but it's mine. And I think the other one, more importantly, I think the other one is that, you know, I really consider myself to be a nice person. I have such great friendships, and I love helping people. I love taking care of people. So I think maybe the people aren't, you know, necessarily convinced of that, but I think that maybe is a misconception.
All right, Carson, what's the other?
All right, we go back here to another one from Twitter, this one from Raleigh. It's a three-parter, Mr. Trump. Have you ever eaten at McDonald's? Have you ever worn a pair of blue jeans? And when was the last time you drove a car by yourself?
So I would say yes. The McDonald's last night, I shouldn't say that. Blue jeans, yes. And I drive a car. To me, a great luxury is for me just to get into a car by myself and drive. And I do drive whenever I can, and probably a week ago.
All right, that's not bad. Willie, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Trump, over here this time, we've got Mark Casey, married with 2 kids, registered independent, thinking about voting for you.
Mr. Trump, welcome to New Hampshire. What would you say to people like me who have concern that you'll be dealing with a lot of world leaders you might not see eye to eye with, in Russia, China, and you can't fire them, and but you could start a war by calling them a loser or an idiot?
Well, I'm doing that, and I haven't actually done that on this campaign. I haven't even called any of my opponents, if you want to call them opponents, that. I went to an Ivy League school. I was a very good student. You know, I'm like an intelligent person. I know when to speak and when to be politically correct. As an example, I could be more politically correct than anybody in politics if I wanted to. But one of the reasons I'm doing so well, I think, in every state, like virtually every state, and nationally, is because of the fact that people are tired of this political correctness. You can't say Christmas anymore. You're not allowed to say Merry Christmas. That's one that I mention all the time. You go to stores, you don't see Merry Christmas. No, I think I get along very well. I built a great company. I have a great spirit. I've dealt in politics, and Matt knows this because I've been on the show many times in other forms of politics. I've dealt with politicians all of my life, and I've gotten along. I have an international company. I deal with prime ministers. I deal with the biggest people in countries all over the world. I have great relationships with them. I think maybe that would be another misconception if you want to go back to the previous question. I have great relationships with people. As an example, how can it be worse than Obama? He doesn't get along with anybody. He doesn't get along with the Democrats. It's true. I mean, you have congressmen that have been there for years. They've hardly ever met him. He doesn't get along with the Democrats. How does it get worse than that? I think I'll have great relationships, possibly with Putin, possibly with... And by the way, if I don't, I know how to get along with him through other people. And that's a part of it. So I think you'll be very happily surprised.
He answered your question? Yeah?
I think he did.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Take a quick break, and we'll come back with more questions for Donald Trump. But first, this is Today on NBC. Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner in the presidential campaign. We're here at the Atkinson Resort and Country Club. I want to go back over to my friend Willie Geist, who's with another member of our audience.
Thank you, gentlemen. Maureen White is a retired special ed teacher. She was a teacher for 42 years, registered Republican, undecided.
Mr. Trump, I would like to ask you what your specific action plan would be for dealing with the large number, millions of illegal immigrants currently in the United States that are drawing on our resources?
Oh, you're going to vote for me, because I'm the only one doing it. If you look at Carson, he's very weak on illegal immigration. If you look at Bush, he said they come in for love. If you look at Rubio, he was a member of the Gang of Eight. I mean, he's way down anyway, but this guy was so weak, and then all of a sudden he said, well, maybe I can't do that because he went down. They're all weak on immigration. I'm the only one that's really, really strong. Number one, I'm building a wall. They're not coming in anymore. Number two, immediately we're building a wall. And by the way, Mexico's paying for the wall. Everyone says, oh, how will Mexico? It's easy. We're losing $45 billion a year in terms of our imbalance with Mexico. Mexico is paying for the wall. We're building a wall. I get along great with Mexico. I love the Mexican people. They're incredible people. I have thousands of Hispanics that work for me. I was at Doral the other day, all Hispanic. They gave me standing ovations.
But let me interrupt here for a second.
Yes.
Specifically, because you used the word specifically, okay? Specific actions.
Specific.
For example,
I'm
just getting 11 million illegal or undocumented immigrants out of the country, transportation, housing them in the process.
It's called management. Look,
what's the specific
and you
plan?
Understand, I think, maybe perhaps better than Matt. It's called we have a country, and they're here illegally. And we're going to get, and some are excellent people, they're great people. And they're going out, they're going to come back in legally. They're going to come in, and it will expedite it. We're going to expedite the process. But we either have a country or we don't have a country. And they're coming back legally. And the bad ones are never coming back again. A lot of the gangs that you see in Los Angeles, you see the gangs in Los Angeles, half of these gangs are made up of illegal immigrants. These are rough dudes. I guarantee you, my first day, and the cops are fantastic. The police are fantastic. They know the good ones. They know the bad ones.
It's a massive
the bad ones
movement
are
of
getting
people.
out.
A massive movement of people. Do you have a business plan? Do you have a plan on paper to accomplish it?
We lose $250 billion a year on illegal immigration. That's what we lose. If we clean up the mess, we don't even know. You said 11 million. Nobody knows what the number is. They're going out and they're coming back in legally. That's the way it has to be.
Maureen, did he answer your question specifically?
Not quite, but I do know, I have read his position papers, and he does have an outline. I would like...
Very detailed. It's very detailed. And we explain. Do you know that Dwight Eisenhower, who was a nice man, General Dwight in the 1950s, do you know that he moved over 1 million people out? And what he did, he brought them to the border, and they came right back. Brought them to the border, came right back. Then what they did is they took them, moved them all the way down south. They never came back. But Dwight Eisenhower moved over 1 million, it's actually 1.5 million people back into the south through the border because it was a huge problem. Nobody ever mentions it. It was a major operation. 1.5 million people, which is maybe the equivalent in those days. And he moved them out because we had a huge problem in the 1950s. Nobody ever talks about it.
When you fly around the country campaigning, you fly back to New York on your jet, and I know you go into LaGuardia. I know the path. You go right over the harbor.
LaGuardia with the potholes on the runway.
All right, you go right over the harbor. You pass the Statue of Liberty. Right. You look down at that statue. You know the words on the base of that statue? It's not a pop quiz. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Okay. You've said Syrian refugees fleeing conflict in their country, the ones who come here, they're going back. They're all going back.
Let me just tell you.
Right?
Yes, they're going back.
Do they not qualify as the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free?
We're like the caretaker for the world. We owe $19 trillion. We can't breathe. We owe so much. Nobody knows how they're going to pay it off. I'm going to get it paid off because I'm going to do cutting. But there's a good example. We have a president that said 3,000, then it was 5,000, then it was 10,000. Now he wants to bring in 250,000 people who nobody even knows who they are, other than, and I watched the migration very carefully, they're young, strong men. I keep saying, where are the women? Where are the children? You don't see that many women. You don't see that many children. Now, we're going to take in 250,000 people. They're coming from areas we don't know. They have no papers, no document. This could be the greatest Trojan horse. It probably isn't. But this could be the greatest Trojan horse of all time. We're going to take them and put them in our country. It's going to cost, Matt, billions of dollars. It was just reported. Over a 10-year period, doing that is going to cost billions. I said, if that happens, I'm sending them back.
But
it shouldn't happen.
Matter. You just said yourself. You just said it could be a big Trojan horse. It probably isn't.
No,
but they're all going back.
Matt, probably is not acceptable. The word probably is not acceptable. These people could be ISIS. They could be fighters. They could be doing something. That's why I say it could be a Trojan horse. But let me just tell you what should be done. And this, also with Germany and the others, they're being swamped. They're destroying Merkel, what she's having riots in the street right now. What should happen is the United States and everybody else, including the Gulf states, who are not spending any money and they're rich as can be, they should build a safe zone, take a big piece of land in Syria, and they have plenty of land, believe me. Build a safe zone for all these people, because I have a heart. I mean, these people, it's horrible to watch. But they shouldn't come over here. We should build a safe zone and put up some money and get the Gulf states, who are not taking any people and are not putting up any money, and they're rich as can be. They have more money than anybody. Get all of these nations to contribute. Build a tremendous safe zone so these people can stay there and they're safe. And then when that country gets back, they can maybe go back to their homes, which is very interesting. People, even people that work for me, they come from all parts of the world. Their big ambition, no matter what it is, even if it's a country that you don't think much of, they all want to go back home. It's an amazing thing. They'll come here, they'll work, they'll be here legally in my case, but they'll work. But they all want to go back to their country. It's an amazing thing to see. These people want to go back to Syria. You build a safe zone in Syria. You have people contribute. You do things where you take care of the people, because we have to do that from a humanity. But I don't want 250,000 people coming into the United States. We can't handle it.
How many would you take?
I would take none. No, I would take none. I would take none. Right now, I would take. But I'll take better care of them, Matt, because what I would take a big swatch of land, and I'd have lots of other people, including Germany. Germany's crazy what they're doing. They are having riots in their streets right now. These people are coming in, and they're having a lot of problems with crime and other things. We have to help these people. I'm okay with it, but they're not coming to the United States, man.
More with Donald Trump from New Hampshire. But first, this is Today on NBC. We're back here in New Hampshire, in Atkinson to be exact, with about 125 registered voters in this state. Some supporters, some undecided, as we've heard already this morning. Willie Geist has another question.
We've got one of those undecided here. This is Jill Casey, mother of 2, registered Republican.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Trump, with the exception of your family, have you ever been told no?
Oh, many times. I've been told no by him. No, many times. I mean, my whole life really has been a no, and I fought through it. I have been, and you know, I talk about it. It's not been easy for me. It has not been easy for me. And, you know, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest. But I came into Manhattan, I started buying up properties, and I did great. And then I built the Grand Hyatt, and I got involved with the convention. So I did a good job. But I was always told that that would never work. Even my father, he said, you don't want to go to Manhattan. That's not our territory. Because he was from Brooklyn and Queens, where we did, you know, smaller things. And he said, don't go to Manhattan. That's not our territory. But he was very proud of me. But all my life, I was told, No. Even for this. I mean, they said, oh, what do you want to do it for? Don't do it, don't do it. You're against professional politicians. So far, I'm not impressed. I will tell you that.
By the way, let's just put this in perspective. You said it hasn't been easy for you, but my dad gave me $1 million loan. That probably is going to seem pretty easy to a lot of people.
But $1 million isn't very much compared to what I built. Right. I mean, I built one of the great companies. But it's always been, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's always been that. And, you know, and that's what I want to do for the country. I want to make America great again. That's why I'm doing this.
I'm curious, have you ever done something, Mr. Trump, to make money in your business life that you felt guilty about in your personal life?
I've done very iconic things. I put a lot of people to. I don't think so, but I'd really have to give that some long thought, and it's possible. But I've done things that are very, you know, I've employed tens of thousands of people over the years in terms of jobs. And that's another thing. Everyone says there's no question. And I say to people, I'll be the best jobs president that God ever created.
But you can't think of anything that's made you guilty.
I mean, no, because I built tremendous jobs and I've employed a lot of people, so I can't think of anything.
Willie?
All right, let's go to Shane Murphy. She's a 38-year-old single mother, medical pharmaceutical sales, registered Republican, still undecided.
Hi, Mr. Trump.
How are you? Thank you, Shane.
Good. I am curious. I know a lot of people would really want to vote for you if only you would eat a piece of humble pie once in a while. Do you have any weaknesses that you can share with us?
Well, I'd like to do that, but then I'd expose the weaknesses to Putin and everybody else, and we don't want to do that, right? Well, you know, I always say, and it's very important, I don't want to, I don't like doing that. Yeah, I have weaknesses. I really believe I have weaknesses. I don't like exposing them, though, because if I expose them, then the enemy knows, right? You know, it could be the enemy, and I don't like that. I always said our country's too predictable. When Obama, President Obama, said we're leaving Iraq, we shouldn't have been there. But you don't give a specific date, because then what happened is the ISIS fighters and all these guys, they said, oh, they're leaving. Wow, let's move aside when they leave. What happened is we left, and they came in big and strong. And we're too predictable, our country. If you think of General MacArthur and General Patton, these people don't talk on television about what they're doing with battles and everything else. The fact is, yeah, I think I have weaknesses, but it's something I don't like discussing because I don't want to give it up.
To answer your question?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right,
fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. Willie, have somebody else
Shane,
there?
thanks for your question. Let's go to Brian Pickowitz. He's a student, 21 years old at St. Anselm College, right up the road here, undeclared voter.
Hello, Mr. Trump. I'm also a small business owner, and the way I see it is your campaign has gained you a lot of recognition for calling it how it is, but it's been based more on talking points than substance. So my question is, do you have a specific plan for how to bring our economy back, or should middle-class voters just elect you because your name's Trump?
Well, I think they should, because I built a great company, and everybody agrees on that. I built a great company. I employ thousands of people. I've employed tens of thousands of people, and you know, I've done a good job, and I've, you know, have some of the great projects. He knows many of them. I mean, I have some of the great projects in the world, and frankly, that is a part of my resume. In all fairness, if I didn't have this great success, I don't think I'd be here right now. I mean, to a certain extent, it is. I tell people, do me a favor, don't worry about it. But the fact is, I have Carl Icahn, I have some of the greatest business people in the world, all lined up. They are so anxious. These are very wealthy people. They don't want money. They don't to help us with our trade deals. Our trade deals are killing our country. We're losing $400 billion a year with China.
Go ahead, jump back in.
Do you have a specific plan for how you plan on doing all this?
Sure, I'm telling you, I'm going to renegotiate our trade deals. I'm going to bring our jobs back. I'm going to bring our manufacturing back. I'll give you an example. Well, you can't say how. We have to renegotiate the trade deals. Look, Mexico took a Ford plant. I've been very tough on the Ford. You've heard me talking about Ford. I heard last night that Ford is moving back to the United States. They may not do that deal. I get credit for that. I should get credit for that. Somebody wrote last night, can you imagine what he could do if he was president? Ford was going to build this massive plant. I brought it up at so many speeches. And frankly, I think I embarrassed him. But Ford now is going to build a big, massive plant in the United States. And every single person, even my harshest critics, gave me credit for that.
But, you know,
I'm going to do that times 1,000.
Was it Mark?
Brian,
I'm sorry. Brian brings up an interesting point, though. It does seem that on a lot of issues, Mr. Trump, you're asking people to say, believe me that I can accomplish these things and fix them because I'm Donald Trump.
You know what? I am asking for that. But I'm also saying I'm very specific. Let me tell you about specifics. The politicians all want, and the media, they all want a 14-point plan. Bing, 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 bing. It doesn't work that way. Because point 2 gets loused up. And now you have to go to a different 0.2. And you can't, you know, they think it's so simple. You just go 14. You have to have great flexibility in deal making. Because what happens, even the taxes, I put up a great tax plan. I'm reducing taxes way down. I'm simplifying and reducing. Corporations are going to pay all the way down to 15. Right now, we're the highest tax nation in the world. I'm bringing the taxes way down. It's been met very nicely. But the fact is, no matter what, when I get that plan approved, it's going to be negotiations back and forth. And it's going to be the same with deal. We are going to bring deals back. We're going to bring jobs back. I could give you a 14-point plan that will look so beautiful and you'd be happy. But you know what? It doesn't mean anything. Because
let me cut it off right now because we do have to take a break.
You understand.
Brian, thank you very much for your question. Thanks for your answers. We're going to have more in just a moment. This is Today on NBC.
So, Matt, take it away. This has been riveting watching.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Tamron and Natalie, thank you as well. We heard that Mr. Trump couldn't stay, and then Donald said, I'm staying. So guess what? He's staying. He's got more questions. Willie Geist out in our audience.
And it's a good thing because we've got a bunch more questions. Mr. Trump, this is Gina Cardellano, 24 years old. Gina?
Hi, Mr. Trump. Today is Hillary's birthday. What are you getting her for her birthday this year?
Well, I'd say happy birthday. You know, lots of luck. But we're going to be in a very tough battle because we have such divergent views. She really is going on a record that's very bad. You know, every poll is saying that I'm beating her now nationwide, as you see. And I think we're going to have a great victory for the Republicans, and we're going to bring this country back. And it's going to be bigger and better and more beautiful than ever before. And that's what I'm looking to do.
Thank you, Gina. Go ahead, Willie. Mr. Trump, this is Paul Morissette, auctioneer, lifelong Republican, big supporter of yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
How you doing, Mr. Trump? My wife Beth and I own Regal Auction in Franklin, New Hampshire. One of the auctions we do is gun auctions. We're doing one on November 21st. So I have my finger on the pulse of gun owners in New Hampshire and elsewhere in the country. What all us gun owners are wondering is if there's any more regulations on a bill that reaches President Trump's desk, will you pledge now to veto that? So we can stop the assault on Second Amendment rights. We don't want to be Australia.
Yeah, the answer is yes, because we have tremendous regulations already. A lot of people don't even realize we have tremendous regulations, and people aren't abiding by. Government does a terrible job of enforcing them, but we already have tremendous regulations. Now, if you look at my opponents, they're very weak on the Second Amendment. I'm very, very strong, as you know. Well, you probably wouldn't like me, right? But I am very strong on the Second Amendment. Carson is weak on the Second Amendment. Bush is very weak on the Second Amendment. And virtually many of them are, and some of them aren't. But I'm very strong for the Second Amendment. No, I would not do anything. But you have to enforce what you have right now. And there are plenty right now.
In the wake of some of the mass shootings over the summer, you said it is inevitable that some people who are mentally ill are just going to slip through the cracks. It sounds like you're saying stuff happens, to coin a phrase that someone else used.
Well, that was a terrible expression from Bush. But the fact is that we have a huge mental health problem. And if you look at some states, including New York and others, they've in order to save money for finance reasons, they've let people out of mental institutions. We have a big problem with that. This is a mental health problem. And believe me, they'll always find a way to get something, whether it's a gun or otherwise. These people that are unstable, we have to straighten out our mental health. And we do have in this country big mental health problems, and that's the problem we have.
And not at all a gun problem.
Well, we already have so much regulation, Matt. You know, there's tremendous regulation right now that people don't even realize. We have this is a mental health problem. These people are all, to put it mildly, they're crazy. And we have to straighten out our institutions. So many of these institutions, and you see it up here too, they're closing and they're putting the people out on the street. That's the biggest problem we have.
Willie?
Trump, this is Scott Pafford, 47 years old, single dad, 2 kids, IT project manager, independent, leaning strongly your way.
Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mr. Trump, you know a lot of people. Who's the most interesting person you've ever met?
My father, but that would be normal. And my mother. These were 2 incredible people. I would say Ronald Reagan was somebody I liked a lot. I knew him. I was a young guy. I was helping him a little bit, and I didn't know him that well. But I just found him to be a very inspiring person. I liked Ronald Reagan.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for your question.
Come on up.
Go ahead, real quick.
One more?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
21-year-old college student, independent. What's your question, Aaron?
Good morning. I'm a senior at St. A's, and my question for you is, if you could fire someone from government today, who would it be and why?
The President of the United States.
That was the easiest question. That was the easiest question I had today. Thank you for your question. Let me end, Mr. Trump, on another quote from your book, Art of the Deal. Okay? You wrote this: "I'll do nearly anything within legal bounds to win." So does that apply to the presidential campaign as well? Would you be willing to make promises that you know you can't keep to win the election?
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I don't think I have to do that. Everything I say, I can do. Everything I say, I will abide by. And I think people will be very surprised. At the end of a 4-year term, we're going to have a country that will be so amazing. We'll have so many victories. It won't be Sergeant Bergdahl, where we get Bergdahl and they get 5 guys that they've been after for years. It won't be an Iran deal, which is a disgrace as a contract and as a deal, a disgrace. We give them $150 billion. We don't even get our prisoners back. We will have great, great victories in this country, and I will abide by everything that I'm saying on the campaign trail.
Again, my thanks to the people of New Hampshire in this room. I appreciate your questions. And our thanks to Donald Trump for giving us the time this morning for this town hall meeting.